Welcome and good afternoon. My name is Kamish Orr, and today I'm just going to give you a little after action report from a payoff pitch tournament that I was a part of in Milwaukee. First of all, yeah, I almost didn't make it. I didn't think I was going to be able to make it to the tournament, so I got in late. It's like one of the, if not the last spot left. There at the end, I think one of the spots left at the end. So I got in, but I was at the very end of the draft order. So the way the this tournament worked out was using the Payoff Pitch Legends and Bust set. We would draft 17 rounds from the Legends and Bust set by email, basically. And then we would draft four busts the day of, including our stadium. So we'd have 21 players plus the stadium there at the end. There were, first of all, the tournament itself. Kurt Burgland was the host from Kurt Burgland's Baseball World. A big shout out to him. And we had 12, 13 participants, I think, something like that. This was the third annual. So the first two were between 6 and 8, I think, participants. So this one was quite a bit bigger. And so I was just happy to be able to get in on it after the registration had basically closed for it. Got in, got in on it, and I just thought I'd kind of go over my team and how we did, and I'll just give you some feedback. Kurt's going to have his own video about the tournament as a whole, so be watching for that. I think that's going to be out at some point soon. But just to kind of give you, I'll kind of run down my lineup, and this is the team that I drafted. Here's my starting lineup. Rogers Hornsby. I wanted my whole goal was to get pitching, but also good defense, and I wanted guys that were good contact hitters, because I figured there'd be a lot of pitchers that were good at with striking people out. So I wanted good contact hitters that didn't strike out a lot, preferably. Had to stray from that in a couple places. So my leadoff hitter was Rogers Hornsby. 358 hitter, 434 on base, 577 slugging. Second base, B3 rating, if you're curious. Number 2 was Todd Helton, first base, B5, 316 with a 414 on base and a 539 slugging. My number 3 hitter was Manny Ramirez, again, strained from the good defense. Left field C3 with a 6 arm, but I needed somebody with pop at that point. 312 average, 411 on base, 585 slugging. So I wanted somebody with some decent slugging in the middle of the lineup. Hack Wilson, number 4 hitter for me, center field B2 with a 7 arm, 307, 395 on base, 545 slugging. Again, I wanted some more pop there in the middle, and he was a decent range fielder there in center. Chuck Klein was a right field C2-6. Again, not the greatest defense, but 320 average, 379 on base, and a 543 slugging. That kind of rounds out the middle power of the lineup. Dick Allen, I had him at third base, C3. Again, not the greatest defense, but 292 average, 378 on base, 534 slugging. Again, a little bit more pop there as well. My last pick was actually Ken Williams, and I have him as my number 7 hitter as a DH. 319 average, 393 on base, 530 slugging. Number 8 at shortstop, a B5 shortstop, is Troy Tulowitzki. 290 average, 361 on base, 495 slugging. And then rounding things out, number 9, we had a run of catchers one round, so I picked up Yogi Berra. 285 average, 348 on base, 482 slugging, but a B4 catcher with a 2 arm, which is something that I kind of wanted at that point. And then in terms of my pitching staff, I had Roger Clemens is my number 1 starter. I had Steve Carlton because I wanted a lefty arm in my rotation, and then Juan Marichal. Those were kind of my top 3. And then my number 4 starter, which I never got to use actually, was Kevin Brown. In the bullpen, my closer was Armando Benitez. Very good card. And then I had Rod Beck and Bobby Howry as a couple of other good relievers, and John Franco as a lefty arm out of the bullpen. Now, when I actually got there, I was really needing to get a catcher, backup catcher, because one of the rules is we had to have a backup at every position, and catcher was one of the weaknesses. I didn't have a backup catcher, and I had a lot of them on my short list from the busts, but they were all drafted because I drafted at the end of the round in the busts as well. So I picked up Bobby Hughes, a B5 with a 4 arm. So the arm was terrible, but a B5 rating. Only a 238 hitter, though, but I just needed somebody as a backup catcher. Tyler Matzik was another bust that I picked up. I wanted another spot starter, long reliever guy, so that if one of the other starters or relievers were my bullpen was used up, I'd have somebody to eat up some innings if I needed to in blowout situations, and so I picked him up. And then my third pick was somebody that just to get some pop off the bench, and that was Canseco. And then finally, I picked up basically to get some defensive coverage, John Vukovic, rated at every infield position, terrible hitter, 161 average. I was only going to use him as a last resort. And then in terms of stadium, all of the stadiums, there weren't major league stadiums to pick in the Legends bus set. They're all non-major league stadiums, but I picked Aloha Stadium mostly because I had the lowest wheelhouse and very low range and error ratings because I wanted to really play up the defense and limiting home runs and power as much as I could. So that's kind of was my strategy coming into it and the team that I had. And unfortunately, they didn't pan out the way I wanted them to. So I'm going to give you a little basis on the 4 games that I played and give you an overview and how I did. So game 1, I was facing a team that had a lot of lefties, a lot of lefty hitters. So I actually had Carlton starting in game 1. And Seacott is who was pitching for them. Their lineup was Boggs, Mantle, Ruth, Berkman, O'Doul, Cochran, Wayner, Pesky, Boudreaux. And so scoreless through 5 innings. Back and forth pitchers duel through 5 innings. I was the home team. Finally in the 6th, though, Carlton had a bad run. Ruth doubled. Berkman had an RBI single. O'Doul walked. And then I gave up 4 straight singles. So finally Boggs grounded into a fielder's choice and Mantle grounded into a double play to get me out of it. But 5 runs. 5 runs in the 6th kind of blew up the game for me. Meanwhile, my team could not hit. I had 1 hit through the first 7 innings. 1 hit through the first 7 innings. And I had actually Matzik come in because it was 5-0 at that point, and he gives up a home run to Babe Ruth to lead things off in the 7th. Then he retires the next 3 batters, though. Still, I was down 6-0. In the 8th, the top of the 8th, I had Rod Beck, and Pesky doubled, and Boggs singled him in, so I was down 7-0 in the 8th. After Allen struck out, Williams singled, Tulowitzki reached on an error, Barra walked, and then Hornsby and Helton followed with RBI singles. Ramirez grounded out. That was another run, 7-4, and that's where things ended. 7-4 loss, all because of 1 big inning, and that was game 1. Game 2, I was facing. Let me get it here. Game 2, I was facing Lefty Grove, and their lineup was Suzuki, Gwynn, DiMaggio, Killebrew, Simmons, Piazza, Sandberg, Babe Herman, and Aparicio, and Clemens on the mound for me. Very first inning, Suzuki singles and steals, and then Gwynn singles him in to score a run. And then after that, things were pretty quiet until the 7th. Again, I had trouble scoring. But in the 7th, after 2 quick outs, Babe Herman had a triple for them and scored on Aparicio's double. So they were up 2-0 into the 8th inning. And in the 8th, Barra walked. Hornsby and Hilton both popped up. But then Manny walked with 2 outs, and Hack Wilson came up with a 3-run homer in the bottom of the 8th to put me up 3-2. Benitez came in and shut things down. He did allow a single to pinch hitter Andrew Jones. But other than that, he shut him down, and I squeaked by with a 3-2 win because of that 1 big swing. And so I was 1-1 at this point. That turned things over to Marichal for game 3. I was facing Derringer, and their lineup was Carew, Stevenson, Gehrig, Mize, Trout, Walker, Ashburn, Dickey, and Garcia Parra. In this case, once again, I was visiting this time. Bottom of the 2nd, they had a couple of singles to put runners on the corners, and then Ashburn grounded in a run So that scored their first run. Then in the third, Garcia Parra doubled, and then I got 2 quick outs, and then Gehrig singled him in. So that was 2-0. I was down. I actually tied things up in the top of the third because Tulowitzki walked, Berra singled, Hornsby walked. I had the bases loaded, but then Helton struck out, and Ramirez grounded out. That was my run. Ramirez ground out. Bases loaded, no outs, and I only scored 1 run. That tied it. And then in their half of the inning, they pulled ahead again, as I said. So they were up 2-1. Top of the fourth, I got that run back. Klein singled. Allen and Williams were out, but then Tulowitzki hit an RBI double. So that tied things up 2-2. I felt kind of good about myself at that point. Fast forward to the fifth, where Dickey singles, Garcia Parra popped out, and then Carew and Stevenson both singled, and that drove in another run. They were up 3-2. In the sixth, once again, Marischal's still in there. Mize had a leadoff double. Trout singled him in and stole second. Walker flew out to right, so Trout moved up to third on the fly out, and then Ashburn had a sac fly to score him. So 2 more runs. I was down 5-2. Finally, in the seventh, I got something going with 2 outs again. 2 quick outs, and then Berra, Hornsby, Helton, and Ramirez all had back-to-back singles. And that scored 2 runs, and it was a 5-4 game. I had hope again, but then my team just couldn't get it done. So I fell 5-4 in game 3. We were originally going to play 4 games in the morning, but kind of time limits because a bunch of games went extra innings. We decided to just go into the tournament seeding, and I was seeded pretty low in the tournament, but it's going to be brand new. I had Clemens on the mound in the first round, and I was facing, overall was their starter, and their lineup was Reyes, A-Rod, Vlad Guerrero, Hank Aaron, Snyder, Pujols, I-Rod, Sheffield, Franco. And we had a crazy first inning. I was visiting. Hornsby drew a walk on a rare play, and I-Rod got ejected for arguing the call. So right away, I-Rod is out of the game, hadn't even gotten a chance to bat yet, and Ron Reynolds came in, who is a one-whatever hitter, to take his spot. So I felt pretty good about myself. And then Helton followed that with another walk. So I had guys on first and second, no outs. But then Manny grounded into a double play, and Hack Wilson grounded out. And that ended my hope in the first inning. In the bottom of the first, the craziness continued as Roger Clemens walked Reyes, who stole second, uncorked a wild pitch. He moved to third on the wild pitch. Then a grounder to Hornsby, who couldn't field it. So an error on Hornsby. That was their first run. A-Rod then steals second, and Yogi Berra overthrows second. So then A-Rod's on third. I thought I was going to get out of it because Guerrero and Aaron struck out. So Clemens had a chance to get out of it. And then he allowed back-to-back doubles to Snyder and Pujols. And Ron Reynolds, the one-whatever hitter, who was only in because I-Rod got ejected, hits an RBI single in the first inning. When all was said and done, they scored 4 runs in the first. Terrible, terrible luck. Clemens cruised after that. He didn't allow another hit. The second was a 1-2-3 inning. He had a walk in the third, but other than that, nobody else reached base. A 1-2-3 fourth, a 1-2-3 fifth, a 1-2-3 sixth. Six innings. He only allowed those 3 hits in the first. 4 unearned runs because of the 2 errors. All of the runs were unearned. And it was just frustrating. I did score a run in the third when Helton singled and Manny hit a double to score him. But 4-1. I brought in Rod Beck in the 7th, and he allowed a solo shot to Sheffield. I just couldn't get it done. 5-1. I lost the first game of the bracket, really, and that was the end of my day. The guy that won actually went on to make it to the Final Four. I don't know whether he got 3rd or 4th place, but he made it into the Final Four. So that's kind of how I did. So overall, my team as a whole hit 201 in those 4 games. That was the name of the game for me. Hornsby was 4 for 15, 267 average, not great, but had 4 hits. Helton was 6 for 15. He was the best hitter. I had 400 batting average, 3 RBI. Manny Ramirez only hit 267, 4 for 15, but he did drive in 4 runs. Hack Wilson had that home run. That was the only hit he had. 1 for 15 with that one home run. Klein was 4 for 16. Dick Allen. So here's where it gets rough. The bottom of the order. Dick Allen, 2 for 16. Ken Williams, 2 for 12. Tulowitzki, 1 for 13. Yogi Berra, 2 for 11. I did have Canseco pinch hit at the end in that game. But overall, the team hit 201. I had, in 4 games, I had a total of 4 extra base hits. I had that 1 home run, and I had 3 doubles in the entirety of those 4 games. You're not going to win very many games when your team's batting that way. Pitching-wise, I don't think I did too bad. 3.97 ERA. I had those 4 unearned runs that were huge. My team had 12 walks, and I struck out 18 times. Our opponents walked 10 times and struck out 25 times. I only let up 2 homers. I only hit 1, but I only allowed 2. But they had 10 doubles and 2 triples. And again, I only had 4 extra base hits the total of the time. So that was the end of my day. Would I do things differently? I don't know if there's anything I would have done differently. I drafted at the end of the round, but I don't think it would have mattered too much because all of these guys are good. A lot of the guys are low strikeout guys that get on base. So, that kind of alleviated some of my power pitchers. So I don't know if there's anything I could have done differently or anything I would have. It's just the way the dice fell. A couple big innings did me in, but on the flip side, I couldn't score anyway. So it's not that really was the difference for me. So overall experience, it was a great experience. I met people that I'd never met before. The first 2 tournaments had maybe 6 to 7 people, maybe. This one had 13-ish. So overall, again, met a lot of people I wouldn't have otherwise met. We had people driving in from Kansas. We had somebody there from Poland. And Joe Bryan, the creator of the game, was there in attendance as well. Big shout out to him for showing up and participating in it. I think I mentioned before that I was in an out of the park league with him many years ago with Commish Dugan and I, and that's where I first knew him before Payoff Pitch was even a thing. So just really cool to kind of get together with him again and chat. There is a Legends and Busts 2 set coming out. I don't know when, but it's in the works, so that'll be interesting. But overall, of course, I wish I would have done better. But I met a lot of new people that love the hobby. It was a great experience. Everybody was, in these, if you're nervous about it or whatever, it's not a high competitive thing where everybody's, of course everybody wants to win. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like, everybody's very good sports about everything. And I think overall, it's an overall great experience and something that I highly recommend if you get a chance to go to one of these in the future. Big shout out to Kurt Burgland for setting this up. He does all of the logistics for it, puts it all together, and as I said, he'll have a video on this also. If he doesn't already have one up, it should be up probably very soon, so be checking that out. I'm just glad I got to meet some people. Some people, of course, have watched the channel, so they know from that. And this isn't meant to be like an overview of the tournament as a whole. This was just like a snippet of my piece of it and how my team did. Not very good. How my team did and the overall my strategy coming into it and that kind of thing. Hopefully you found that interesting, though. Love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you were there, be sure to feel free to talk trash about my team. All in good fun, but yeah. Leave some comments. Let me know what you think. If you're on the fence about attending one of these, don't be. It's a great experience. You'll meet people. You play some games in person, and it's just an overall fun time. And so that's where we will leave things. Again, want to give a big shout out to Kurt Burgland for hosting and Joe Bryan, of course, for creating this game and being in attendance for a part of that day. And with all that said, that's where we will leave things. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, have a great evening.